welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us to look ahead to our match at Bristol City at the weekend. As ever, got about 20 minutes with Jonas, and we'll kick off with yourself, Michael from Sky.
Very much. Hi, Jonas.
Hi.
Bristol City, Ashton Gate. How much of the squad looking forward to that one?
Of course, a lot. I've only been there watching the Lionesses before, but which was a great atmosphere. I heard ticket sales are strong for the game. Looking forward to that occasion, and yeah, really.
Yeah, 10,000 are going to be in the home end, and I know Arsenal, you always travel well. Can I get any team news, injury latest ahead of the game, please?
I mean, we had some minor things in the week. Nothing that we for sure know if that's going to affect Sunday or not at the moment. So nothing big to report on.
Serena Wiegman says that Beth is not close to a call up. Were you happy that she said that, and do you agree with that?
I mean, Serena, she has 100%. It's her decision over the England squad. So I'm never gonna have an opinion about that. What I do think is complicating it a little bit when we speak about it from a return to play perspective is obviously that Beth is now starting to train fully with us, of course, and now she starts to play minutes as well. But the reality of us when we're at an international break is that we might have 3 outfield players left for 2 weeks of training, which is far from ideal for a player like Beth Mead, because she obviously lacks the experience of big pitch decisions. My hope would have been that a player like Beth could have gone and trained with England instead, even if she would have been available for selection. But that's England's decision. I would have thought that could have been a nice way to help the player.
And in that, Vivian is going with the Netherlands. So after hearing that, I'm assuming you're happy with that decision.
I am, and I think that's exactly how the Netherlands have resonated in this situation. They know that Viv is really close to getting return to play. Maybe she can make the squad here on Sunday as well for Arsenal, which would be a big thing for us as well. That still makes her a doubt of if she could play competitive games for Netherlands, of course, because we still don't know how she would react. But they have very much taken her under that assumption and with the dialogue that they understand that can be the case, but they are happy to just be providing her with an optimal training experience. And that's a win-win also for Arsenal, because that means that she will come back before the City game in a better condition than I think would have been possible at Arsenal with only 3 players at home.
It's never nice having these long-term injuries, but to keep the morale up, I read Leah Williamson bought Beth a karaoke machine.
Yeah.
Brilliant. You had a go?
I have definitely not had a go for it, but no, I've been seeing the karaoke machine carried around the training ground. I think it's found its place now. It tried to come into the medical room a couple of times, and they have been playing some really strong defense there in the medical team trying to get that out so it doesn't disturb the treatments, but we get to spread the joy in other rooms in the building. So it's been good to see some good dynamics in the group.
That's a great idea though, isn't it? When you're feeling down, you're doing physio, it is actually a good idea from Leah, thinking about it.
To understand that sometimes you need a spark in something, and if things stays the same, it might just spiral down, and you need to start with a laugh, for example, to start off a fire of emotions. You're right. So that's why Leah Williamson is a great leader.
I'll come bring it in, I'll do some Elvis.
I could see with the haircut that it was coming from that.
That's good. More good news as well. Just announced the North London Derby is going to be at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, 60,000. I feel like I'm saying it all the time now. Great news, and we're getting used to this in top stadiums.
We are, and I think that's so good that we come from 5 years ago. It was one-offs playing at major stadiums. Now it becomes almost every week thing, and that's just great. It shows the development, and like I said, I think we have been the leading club in the league, playing most games at the biggest stadiums and drawing great attendances. But as a league, everyone needs to do it. So I'm so happy that more and more clubs are doing that, because that's the only way we can drive this league together forward. So that's great news that Tottenham is doing that.
Good luck Sunday.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Ian from Talksport.
Yeah, just can I pick you up on that, because I was at Brighton v Spurs last Sunday at the Amex. I think Brighton have 2 home games they play at the Amex, and there was, I think, 7,000 there, and it looked empty. Basically, it was empty. While you're filling the Emirates and on a regular basis getting really good crowds at the Emirates, other clubs aren't being able to do exactly the same. So, is there still a question of play?
How many people did we have 2 seasons ago in our league opener against Chelsea at Emirates?
9,000.
9,000. Yeah, it's hard to believe today, right? 9,000. So you need to start somewhere. And what do you do with these 9,000? You start to learn a lot as an organization. You start to learn what 9,000 people does turn up to the game. How can we put our advertisement out to reach our target groups better, to connect with the fans? What kind of experience can we provide so they want to come back the next time? So I think when you say 7,000 for it, yeah, I understand when you compare that to us having 60,000 against Wolfsburg, it doesn't sound like much. But remember, 2 years ago we had 9,000 against Chelsea in the league opener. We have to start somewhere and take steps from there on. And the solution is not to go back and say, oh, let's only play then on smaller stadiums. I'm sure Brighton will find out there as well as a club, and they can grow from there on. So I think their decision to put that game on the Amex to begin with, I think that is great. Now it's about what the league and they do with that information that they got, so they can grow it for the next time.
I'm sure there'll be some games this season you still play at Boreham Wood, which is 4,000. I mean, or are you now going to play every game at the Emirates?
No, we have scheduled 5 games at Emirates, and that means, if my math is not totally off, that we're going to play 6 games at Meadow Park.
In terms of the Champions League this week, Manchester United went out. I know that Arsenal have already gone out of the competition. Does that say more about the fact that the competition needs to include WSL teams a bit later in it, because they're going to, as has been shown with Arsenal and Chelsea last year, and Chelsea when they got to the final a couple of years ago, WSL is, if not the league in the world, then one of the leagues in the world, and surely you want those teams in the latter stages rather than going out in qualifying.
The reality is, though, that if Wolfsburg would have beaten Barcelona in the Champions League final, WSL wouldn't have had any direct spot qualifying for the group stage, because also our champions Chelsea would have needed to qualify, because we're the number 4th ranked league in Europe. And why are we the number 4th ranked league? Because the English teams have done worse than the Spanish, than the German, and than the France teams have been doing for the last 5 years. And there I think we as a league need to understand that's our starting point. That's reality. Like, I think you can't point to that's anyone else's problem than our own as a league. The English teams have not been doing well enough in Europe to get enough ranking points to get better ways into playing. Then, as a total separate things, are there a possible demand for where we could play the Champions League with more teams? Could the qualifying process be different, with more time in the season, and, for example, not playing one-legged games on neutral grounds and stuff like that? Of course there is, but that's a different thing. When we start to think about where the English league is now, we're number 4 in Europe. We're number 4 in Europe from a ranking perspective, and we can't say that that's anyone else's problem than our own. And so we need to improve the quality in the league, so we're making sure that when the English clubs go out and play in Europe, that they're winning their games.
To that end, is this season, it seems already from the beginning of the season that there's much more competition, there's a lot closer between teams. It won't just be 4 teams or 3 teams that run away with it, and everybody else is kind of scrapping towards the bottom. But does there need to be more teams in WSL? If there are more teams, would the competition be better, and therefore would the standard rise, and therefore going into Europe that would be beneficial?
I think it's both ways for it. Like I was saying, I think more games being played at bigger stadiums across the whole league. I think that's going to be a really big factor in driving this league forward. Yes, every team in the league needs to improve. We also need to still acknowledge the fact that the highest paid salaries for women football players are not being paid in England. They're not being paid in England. They're being paid in Spain, they're being paid in France for it. And so as much as we say that we need more teams to be better in England, yes, it's true. We also need the better teams to be even better. It's a really hard equation for me to figure out where we're saying English teams should be the best in Europe. Okay, that's good. But we should live in a world where the teams in the other leagues, they pay much better salaries to their top players for it. So we need to drive across everything for it. If we want the English league to be the best in the world, we need to have the best players here. And that means that we need to be going to be able to pay the best salaries.
Last one, if you do take the karaoke machine on the bus on Sunday to Bristol, what would you sing if you did sing? What sort of music, what are you into? ABBA?
Definitely not ABBA.
Oh.
Definitely not ABBA. It's not my generation, mate. No, I'm not a great singer. I'm not great with music either. I need to be very honest with that. So I don't have any good answer for
Taylor
that.
Swift or anything like that?
More like Johnny Cash, probably.
Alright.
More like Johnny Cash.
There we go. I
Yeah.
can see clearly now. Don't worry.
Good, thanks.
Thanks, Ian. We'll leave the broadcast section there. Is there anything else in the room, guys? Or head?
Just a quick one, just
Sam.
on Viv, in terms of where you see her playing. Obviously, Alicia's come in this summer. Do you see them working as a pair? How do you sort of see those things together?
I can see that work in different combinations, and that's very exciting. We could see Alessia started the game against Aston Villa as a 9, but we switched her to a 10 when Stina was coming into a 9, and we worked out of that partnership. And what does that tell us? It tells us Miedema can play both as a 9 and a 10. I think Alessia can do the same. She can also work as a 9-10. So then when we see them play together, when they do, what will bring their best qualities out of each other, we have to see. And that's the exciting thing in football. I have an idea in my head, but that doesn't count for much until it transpires out to the pitch. And I'm very excited to see them working together on the pitch, but we hadn't had much time to do that so far.
Mark at the back.
Hi, Jonas. You spoke there quite passionately about European football and where the WSL sits within that. Obviously, within the women's game, it is Champions League or bust almost. Do you think there is a growing need for a second, like almost a women's Europa League competition? Do you think that would help develop the game across Europe?
Yes and no. Yes, because it's a really nice opportunity for growth to come out and to compete internationally. We have seen that the last 2 seasons here at Arsenal. It has given us so much. But no, because also when we look at the Champions League from an economic perspective, I don't think that is too much of a winning affair for the clubs that are a part of that. And I don't really see, if you can't get Champions League to work on a lucrative economic model, why would it work to have a second competition? If you would take the comparison in the men's games, that's very much how that one works, where the Champions League is the tournament that makes the most revenues, and then it goes down in a descending order on the levels of the competitions. So I think the Champions League for women need to start first getting their finances and their financial model right, and from there on, once we get that one right, then you can start expanding with more competitions. But I can't see the financial sustainability in adding another European competition right now for the teams that's going to compete in that.
Thanks, Mark. We'll come to the call now, guys. We're a bit pushed for time, so